All right. After a false start, for you people who were present, we are officially starting this live stream, this live show here on my day off. Here in the States, it is a day to go vote. Okay. So I ended up doing that this morning. And what was so funny is my wife is at work today. And I got a text from her about 2 o'clock, 2:30, remind me to go vote, and I was already up and doing that. So, for you people in the future, it is November 4th, 2024. Thank you for joining me again, John. 2024, 2025. It is November 4th, 2025, approximately 3:30ish, close enough, guys. And with everybody hopping in here already, man, great to see everyone. John, hey, Yeller Mouse, we got John Jones there. What's up, dude? All right, we got the Johns in here, man. Um, so that's always my cue to go ahead and ask you guys to please subscribe if you have not already. Definitely give it a thumbs up because we're going to have some fun. And yeah, and hit that bell so you know when we do this, right? So on my day off after going out and voting and running around and trying to get some stuff done on these days that my days off are rare when I actually have a day off that I don't have to I'm not taking off because I'm sick or I have a doctor's appointment or there's adult responsibilities. We have a day where everything's just kind of cool. It's just me and the cats for a little while, and I don't have anything to do for about another hour, guys. So yeah, hit these bells so you can join me when we have this free time, and also make sure you kind of share the video or get the word out because this is a 15-year-old YouTube channel. I have been collecting comics for 47 years. And it's always kind of nice to get some new blood in here, right? To hear what the kids have to say, or to find those seasoned collectors who are looking around. Because what has happened is this happens every few years as I've turned around and uh, have been doing this for quite a few years. You kind of get a wave of new viewers, and at the same time, you kind of get a wave of people who kind of check out because things have changed. So that happens, on top of everything else. So it's always kind of nice to let the new people know that there's a guy who talks about comics, reads comics, it stays on topic at least 80% of the time. That's pretty good. John, not sure what happened. The first time the screen went blank. Oh, first time around, I had a false start because for whatever reason, it was a YouTube reason. When the stream started, it did not pick up on the camera you're seeing now. It did not pick up on the microphone. It was on the laptop camera, which is a potato, and there was no microphone coming through. So I just privatized it and started a new one. Sorry about that. Yeah, it happens. YouTube Live has done some things where my microphone sounded fuzzy when I went back and watched it again, and then it disappears. I used to think it was my equipment. Still could be. But we went out and got an Ethernet cable so we can look pretty good in these at least. If you notice, you can see the library a whole lot better. So one of the things that I'm sort of doing is I'm realizing, despite the fact that I am going through the comics and there's going to be a bit of a purge at some point, right? Um, I've already sold some comics a few weeks ago at a little con in town. I've got another one coming up in the spring. Who knows where that's going to go? I'm finding out that there's things where I'm like, didn't I just bag these comics? Even though I do kind of keep up the collection pretty well. And then I'm like, yeah, I just bagged these back in the 90s, 1994, 1991. Kind of happens. It happens. Time has flown by. And luckily enough, I've been able to hold on to a substantial amount of this collection. 2 or 3 thefts and a divorce, some other things, traveling, storing these books, and I've been very fortunate to keep up with a lot of this stuff. Very fortunate. And one of the things I want to show you is it was an exciting time there going into the 80s. Now, with hindsight, I can look back and look at these books, and I kind of remember that I could start telling a difference in quality with Marvel. There was some fun going on, but there wasn't a lot of, I don't know, there was a energy that's gone, a substance. And what that was is that we were going from the Jim Shooter years where it's all about story and apparently right in the ass of the creators. And trying to pitch things that have to make sense. For example, Elektra blowing up with Frank Miller becoming fantastically popular, and the sales of a C-list character, even a D-list possibly at that time, were just shooting through the roof. Everybody loved Elektra apparently, and then Frank Miller had to tell Jim Shooter, editor in chief, I have to kill her. And and he was like, "Oh no!" But he said, "Tell me the story." Now, I didn't work for Jim Shooter. Seems like there's a lot of problems, and with Jim Shooter's being let go as editor in chief due to New Universe fiasco and quite a few other things behind the scenes, caused a lot of creators to come back to Marvel. And I've always suspected that that is why Roy Thomas kind of jumped ship from DC back to Marvel, because when Roy Thomas went to Marvel to DC originally, a big part of that was because Jim Shooter had a policy, if you will, where writers could not be their own editors. And you had guys like Marv Wolfman who were their own editors. Roy Thomas was his own editor. They go to DC, they kind of got to do that. Anyway, so Jim Shooter is booted out. Tom DeFalco, the editor, steps up, and there was a looseness to these comics. They didn't feel, I don't know, they didn't feel as grounded, if you will, right? You can go back and look at the Fantastic Four of that era. We started getting annuals where we were having these subpar stories going through the summer, like the Evolutionary War and stuff like that. They were fun. It's nice to go back and read them, but you could just definitely tell there was a little bit of a little standard of quality over time and stuff, right? So things did get exciting because we get to jump on there and we get to have a bunch of #1 issues come out. That was one of the cool things that did come out of that. And this is one of those. You had things like She-Hulk. You had John Byrne come on and take over West Coast Avengers, turn it into Avengers West Coast. He took over Starbrand. And then eventually we got She-Hulk. And at the same time, we got Todd McFarlane doing his own Spiderman book, right? We got Quasar, we got a new Ghost Rider, right? There was a little bit of a resonance. Speedball #1, with Steve Ditko, having his own book at Marvel again a little bit, things like that. So there was a lot going on there. Guardians of the Galaxy #1, right? Jim Valentino on there, right? 89, 90, we got a lot of some stuff, right? And this is one of the books that I actually kind of enjoyed. It was kind of fun because one of the first things that I read back in the day when I was a kid from the stepdad's uncle's collection were some what if issues, right? And I actually have the original in my upgrade, right? So this is one of the original comics, the volume 1 of What If, okay? And this is What If Conan Had Walked the Earth Today. This is a fantastic book written by Roy Thomas, right? We get Conan in the year, I don't know, 78, 79, New York, right? And he gets to go back. But with that, that volume 2, what I always it's not that I forget, it's that the fact that they ended up having a sequel to it. They did a what if of a what if with volume 1. With issue 43, we got What If Conan had been stuck in the 20th century. So, so we have a what if issue where he ends up in Marvel, and this first one was written where it felt like it could have been continuity, even though it is a what if story. What if stories take place in alternate universes with Marvel, right? If you watch the MCU, you've kind of seen those now, right? But they take little points in time with these stories and say, what if this happened? And a lot of this came from the fact that I think during production meetings or whatever they were doing, Roy Thomas used to spit, or Stan Lee used to spit it out to Roy Thomas and stuff like, what if this happened? And what if this happened? So Roy Thomas started getting the idea of like a what if book, and they started volume 1 in 1977. So it lasted for quite a few years. Here's number 43, Sienkiewicz cover. That's fantastic, right? So they came out with a one shot, and they came out with volume 2. Volume 2 ran from 1989. Oh man, I just put it in there. Let me look here. 89 to 1998. And then they ended up having, in the middle of this, you had Alternaverse stories or something, a bunch of one shots. They were supposed to be what if, and this was like your one shots slash two shots like Ruins by Warren Ellis, The Last Avengers story by Peter David, and things like that. And then What If came back with a bunch of one shots over the years and stuff. What I like about the What If books taking breaks like that, I think it's, I don't know, I don't think it was planned. But I think what's great about that is you got to have time. You have to have time for Marvel to make stories in order to have new things to say, what if? And that's what was so cool about this. Out of the blue, I knew what the what if stories were. And I was reading comics at the time, 16 years old when this came out, 15, 16 years old when this came out. So I'd had my years of reading comics. Okay. I had my Crisis on Infinite Earths, right? I had my Frank Miller stuff, my John Byrne stuff, my David Mazzucchelli, the Alpha Flight years, those annuals I was telling you about, where we would have summer events where a bunch of random annuals that would come out weekly carried a story that went through there, right? Crossover events with the More Like Massacre, people still talking about Dark Phoenix Saga, things like that. So it's just a good time, and that's kind of what we're going to show here because these are the books, and I think I bagged these in '91. So the fact that they have I did not have comic book supplies in the '80s nor the '70s. You know what I'm saying? So apparently, I think these are in the original bags. Shame on me. I have a whole box here of things that I probably need to rebag. My last live show, if you guys caught that, this is from the same box. I pulled the box off the top shelf over here. Right. So let's see who's here, and then we'll finally start talking about those, right? Okay, not sure what happened. I'll explain that. What do you think about Titan reprinting the Savage Sword of Conan in color? I'm down for it. I have so many volumes, not volumes, excuse me. I have so many different printings of things like Watchmen, and I have Epic Collect right here over my shoulder. I have the original Savage Sword of Conan books. I have the Epic collections of the Conan the Barbarian comic. I have, many printings of Red Nails in color and black and white stuff like that. I'm down for it. Bone. I have the complete Bone. I did. But now I kept the Scholastic series and a majority of the original comics on mini signed by Jeff Smith. I've got several I don't know, the first 3 volumes of the original hardbacks that came out in black and white. But my favorite's the Scholastic in color. I'm all with the glut of comics from the last 10 years that a majority of them are just the quality is just not there, in my opinion. That if we're going to get new books and new comics from a very, we'll call I hate calling it the golden age, man, but you got to admit, man, the Bronze Age, uh, you know, in the '80s, the '70s, and '80s, that's some good stuff, man. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing that hooked a lot of readers, and and a lot of people in this very chat. We all started around the same time, so yeah, I'm down for it. I'm down for it. What kills me is the price and things like that. We have some scary writers out there. Bendis for one thing, and my thing, I will defend his Powers book, at least the first, I don't know, 3 volumes, 2 volumes. His crime comics, Bendis, I think he writes great crime comics, right? But a lot of people point out to me things like he did like 100 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man, and he did 100 issues of Avengers and things like that. Well, first of all, his ultimate Spider-Man, even if you love it, he didn't create that from scratch. He had, oh my god, at the time, over 30 years of Spider-Man comics to pick through and rearrange that jigsaw puzzle to and update it with what he already had. A lot of that was already in front of him. His Avengers comics, yes, or probably he did 100 of them, or whatever it was, whatever how many that was. But we'll say if it is like 100, his decompressed storytelling and his talking heads and stuff, if you really put those stories together, it's more like 35 issues. I'm like to spread out over 100. So it's really good to go back and have people read dense comics when you bought them. It didn't take 3 minutes to read. It lasted you 2 or 3 different readings throughout the month, waiting for the next issue to come out. And those Savage Sword of Conan's is a fantastic example of getting the bang for your buck, art and story. So that's my opinion, man. What we got here? I didn't know there's going to be so many questions, but bring them on. Okay, John, no problem, man. Did you enjoy Secret Savage Adventures with Conan in the 21st century? No, I stayed away from it. But there's some things here in these what if stories that shows that Conan has interacted with the 20th century, and there's a issue here where he fights Wolverine and stuff like that. No, I really don't like what Marvel did, but that's just my opinion. You know what I mean? If you guys enjoyed it, that's fine. I had a few people say the same people that told me there was some good stuff going on with that would turn around after I saw them 2, 3 months later at another con or whenever comic book talk would come up, and they would just sort of like, okay, never mind. That was kind of the feel. Some good stuff, but not consistent. That What If is one of my favorite stories. Yes, that I love that issue. Hey, Shirley 10, what's up? I got the day off. That's why you caught a live show. Nice. It's John Jones, but he butchered Superman in the Legion. I sampled uh, some of John Jones' Superman. I sampled his Legion, and I actually did a review of the 2 issues. I don't even know what to call it, prequel. I can't even think what it's called now, of what he was doing going through a DC timeline in 2 issues leading up to him taking over the Legion. And it was horrible. I would die on that hill. It was horrible. Okay, probably. So I agree with you, John Jones. He just really butchered that. Problem One Collector Heller, didn't you say on your Mount Rushmore of current comic writers, Bendis and Tom King were your favorites? Prime One, I thought we were friends. We're going to have Tom King. We're going to have we're going to have Tom King. We're going to have Michael Brian Bendis, and we're going to have Booster Gold. I really don't know if they need a fourth on that one. Chuck Austin, Chuck Austin for back in the day. Oh, God. All right, guys. So thanks for popping in here, and let's get started right now, guys. I may not have read many of these issues since the 90s. I literally, and I can't believe I'm saying literally, not figuratively. I think I'm using it correctly. I literally pulled these out of the box. The only thing I did was I did dig through another box with Quasar number 30. So there's going to be a little bit of Howler trivia, as in the day of old, that I used to do in every video to kind of just give you a clue here, right? And I'm not going to keep you waiting, right? What's very cool about this Quasar number 30 is that if you get down here to the bottom, wandering the worlds of what if, right? So basically what happens here is, and I'm going by memory because I do have a complete set of Quasar, and I'm probably going to be looking to sell it as a set, is Quasar ends up, once again, there's a cosmic villain, I think, and he's a bit more than what Quasar thought he could handle. And he ends up, in space between Earth and the Moon. Then he ends up on the Moon. Then he ends up in Uatu, the Watcher's fortress, and he ends up getting banished, and he's traveling through a bunch of the what if universes that you see in this series, because Mark Greenwald was the king of continuity. Okay, you think Roy Thomas over explains things? Mark Greenwald will go out of his way to do whole arcs of stories just to fix something that happened in between a panel, 2 panels and stuff, right? So some of these stories have a little bit of cameo in this Quasar. This ends with him going through a dimensional rift, if you will, and he ends up in the new universe. The next issue, right? See, I love that series, man. It was like Jim Starlin light. If you can't handle the heavy Jim Starlin sci-fi stuff with its mature themes and things like that, you can do this Quasar with Mark Grunwald, where it's kind of like, you have the Doors, and then you have like some great pop records. That's what it's like. Okay. So anyway, we're going to start off here with a Roy Thomas written story, if I remember. Oh yeah, one other thing I'm kind of doing here is I have gone to Wikipedia, and just because I have not read these, you can get on there and it will tell you what happened in each issue and what it references, where the what if is breaking off from into its own timeline or alternate dimension or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So first one here is what if the Avengers had lost the war? And this is based on Avengers Annual number 70. And yes, Quasar does revisit this one, right? So yeah, this stuff is fun, and I do remember that they started out this series with a punch, right? This thing starts with the ocean or something. We're going to look here real quick, and it ends with celestials. This thing took off, and I do remember that Captain America was the captain, and his brain evolved. Okay, so we get a I don't even remember Superman with the big bubble head from the Silver Age, but we get a Captain America like that. And this is, like I said, this is the series where they pumped out these stories. And I could kind of tell the difference between a Jim Shooter run Marvel, where the stories need to make more sense or something, and Tom DeFalco, where they shoot fast and loose and it doesn't really matter if they're grounded. So basically, we have Uatu, and another thing about this, all the What If series is based on the Watcher here on the moon, and he would talk to the readers and talk about certain points in history. But what if? And then here's a universe where this happened because Watchers can only watch. I do know that later, much later into the series, the volume two, they took him out because he ended up interfering or murdering. No, he ended up interfering with another Watcher in the Fantastic Four book. So they had to take him out of the What If books, ending a tradition that he was our host. You know how EC Comics had Tales from the Crypt, and we had the Crypt Keeper, and all those guys. We had the Witching Hour, the Three Witches. We had House of Mystery, House of Secrets with Cain and Abel. Well, I kind of felt a wink and a nudge with saying that, for a What If book, this is our host, in that tradition. So he runs through what the book is about and talks about volume one. I think there was like one shot that came out at some point in between those, and we pick up with some exposition, and as you can see here, and we start seeing where things diverge. Now this was exciting for me because this event had just happened, and now we're getting things from what I considered my era of comics because I got to read this. Right, the first What If was based on stuff that maybe I got to read or maybe I didn't, but anyway, things go sideways. Looks like everyone's evolving. um, they shouldn't have done this. And here we go. This is where the humans and stuff evolve, and everybody gets big heads. Mutants aren't evolving that much because they've already evolved. We get Spider-Man back with his 6 arms. And then it's all coming back to me. These are the 2 pages where I was like, we're not in, this is Tom DeFalco, editor in chief. I had enough understanding to realize that, right? So we get the big crossover, big crossover. We get all the heroes together. X Factor is going on. Doctor Doom plays a part. There's a big war. People die. I mean, this is really a lot of really cool stuff happens in this, and it just moves. That was the fun of it. Wolverine seems to be crying. We get we get the looks like all the Silver Surfer gets took down. Then all the bunch of the evolved heroes take down Galactus. You know, and like I said, it just gets more and more cosmic. They end up bringing in the Celestials. There's death, So yeah, that's what I mean. People keep evolving. They play with the cosmic rift of things, and we kind of get a bit of a philosophical ending there, right? So yeah, exciting stuff back then, right? I mean, that was a lot of story for $1.25. And this was a time where I was really complaining about the prices there, right? So the other thing we have here, this takes place after Daredevil 228, right? What if Daredevil killed the Kingpin, right? There we go, right? From the monumental Born Again storyline, right? That was still being talked about and still hot here towards the end of the 80s. And this is one of those storylines and famous stories that is the must read in comics. You know what I'm saying? What if Steve Rogers had refused to give up being Captain America from What If number 3, right? We got the Freedom Force, Captain America 332. I did look at that, but I have 2, 3 copies of this. This was going on at the time. This is when we got, what was his name? John Walker, the Super Patriot, ended up being Captain America. And we got 18 issues leading up to Captain America 350, where we get Captain America back proper, because basically, I hope his name is John Walker. He's been the U.S. agent for so long, that's all I know him by now. But I'm pretty sure it's John Walker. Anyway, he ends up being like insane. He had super strength from the Power Broker, who was a guy who would it was from the Thing comic, right? The Power Broker, I think, was a character from the Thing because there was a wrestling league. I feel like it was like Universal Wrestling or something, but that's a problem because there's a real wrestling federation called that. And the Power Broker would give the wrestlers super strength and powers. That's where we got Miss Marvel, who joined the Fantastic Four, D Man, and things like that. And apparently, that I think that's how John Walker got his super strength or something. I may be just mixing in all of my Marvel from the 80s there. But anyway, but this is what it all started out with the government, want him to do things. Captain America quit being, is a Mark Runwell written story. He gave up being Captain America because he told the government that he is about the American people because the people make up America and not the government. They're two different things. And he ended up going rogue and he got a black suit. He became the captain with a clear white shield. And I think Fall of the Mutants happened. He fought with Iron Man. And then all of a sudden, when everything was over, he became Captain America, and the former Captain America that replaced him ends up becoming the U.S. agent and pops up in John Byrne's West Coast Avengers. If that to make you cross your eyes, you're doing well. And now this book, I actually think this book became a little hot all because of Venom and the Venom movie and stuff, right? But this is another one of those books that escalates quickly. That's the thing that's kind of cool about these. If you're not looking for a well-written story and one that just moves along and gets to the point, this is for you, right? But this escalates quickly, right? I know where this comes from, right? Amazing Spider-Man 258. What if the alien costume had possessed Spider-Man? And I'm glad I actually looked at this because in my mind, I would have went to Web of Spider-Man #1, where Peter Parker escaped the symbiote finally, right? But this book he ends up possessing everybody. The symbiote ends up possessing everybody in this. I feel like this is Al Milgram and stuff. Let me flip through this one real quick, guys. Okay. But yeah, this kind of became big. Mark Bagley did the pencils in this in 1989. Mr. DP7 and Mr. Ultimate Spider-Man right around the corner. But anyway, to catch you up where it goes, we end up. They show the little snippet of Secret Wars there, little homage. There's Secret Wars #8, talking about where he got the costume, and then it catches up your readers a little synopsis of the Black Costume Saga. Yep, and right there at the bottom two panels, that should be Amazing Spider-Man 258ish that they were talking about, where Reed Richards discovered that Sonics will disrupt the symbiote. Anyway, and then we get Web of Spider-Man #1. That's why I thought I would say Web of Spider-Man #1 is where it diverged, because he had to use the church bells to get the costume off. And we found out later on, X-Men 300, 299, 300, we get Venom because it slid down and found Eddie Brock and stuff, right? But oh, this is fantastic. They show how it diverges. Oh man, we got all kinds of heroes here. Let me find the symbiote. Yeah, so anyway, it looks like it really fed on Peter Parker to where he was a husk, and it jumped over and got the Hulk. So we have a Hulk that is the symbiote has taken over. We have a very old Peter Parker. He did not die. Let me look around here. Let's get to the point here. All the heroes are after him because the Hulk has taken him over, and he gets Thor. And I think that's why this book became something. So the symbiote just keeps taking over everyone. I just remember thinking this was cool, man. I was like, oh man, Black Bolt shows up. So they bring out the ultimate person with the power of Sonics with his voice, the banshee of the Inhumans, if you will, to decimate and try to kill. And there goes Mount Rushmore. I think they decimated Mount Rushmore there for someone that mentioned it a minute ago. Oh yeah, so yeah, and there's a little trick there. The lover of Peter Parker at the time gets her revenge as well a little bit, steps in there. So yeah, fun stuff, man. See what I'm saying? One shot story. You just kind of get in there. We go all the way back to some Silver Age Avengers with this one. I think this is a Valentino cover. What if the Vision had destroyed the Avengers? And I think there's a second shot. What if Wonder Man hadn't died? It's two stories in one, folks. It's kind of curious who did this one. I thought it was Jim Valentino's story. Yeah, words and pictures, Jim Valentino. So yeah, your future creator of Dark Hawk, and founder of Image is right in here, jumping in here. He brought a little bit of a story quality to his stuff. I actually liked his writing. He had a really cool way of kind of bringing some cool stuff together out of these books. All right, and now one of my favorite crossovers. We have the omnibus of this here. I have the books I had when they came out, and I've tried to get a complete one, complete set. But we have What If the X-Men Had Lost the Inferno with a Ron Lim, Terry Austin cover. And like I said, these things were just happening. So these books were coming out quick. Absolutely love this one. Absolutely love this one. Right. And then one that's going to surprise everyone, but I thought this was like the best issue to come out when it came out. Granted, I probably haven't read it in 31 years. Okay. But I remember getting this, and this was the one that I reread because I was just sort of like, it was sometimes you find something so ugly, it fascinates you to look at it. It really does. It really does. And then it has energy. You know what I mean? And it makes you feel like you could go and do comics yourself, not by inspiring you, but you feel like you could probably at some point, you know. But now that time has gone by, will. I totally will give Rob Liefeld his due. Right? We have What If Wolverine was an agent of Shield, and I thought this was just fantastic. My brother, who is 4 years younger than me, had his finger on the pulse of the future. He was right there at Hawk and Dove, the miniseries. He was right there at the debut of Cable, and we both had the debut of Deadpool and things like that, right? But I kind of did not jump on the Rob Liefeld thing because there's an issue of New Mutants Extinction Agenda crossover where it opens up on the splash page. Jubilee is running down an alley of Mandapore, I believe, or something. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, but what killed me is that he had like a left foot on her right leg. I was like, she's running at you. The front of her foot is up in the air where she's running, and it's the wrong foot, and it killed me. That was just enough, right? But yeah, this was actually fun. Let's see who read this one. Oh man, let me see here. Yeah, Incredible Hulk 181 is where the story diverged from this. So right from the get-go. But yeah, this seems kind of fun. Yeah. Some actual tight pencils by Rob Liefeld there with feet. There are feet in this one. Very nice mood. Very nice Shield accent. Jim Valentino, script and layouts. Look at that. Rob Liefeld, pencils and inspiration. Scott Williams, brushes and quills. So this is just a whole crew. This is the future. This is the inker for Jim Lee there. So Jim Valentino layouts, Rob Liefeld pencils, finished pencils, I guess, and then Scott Williams. So yeah, they really pulled this one off. Like I said, I got a big kick out of this. Oh my goodness. It takes down it's got the robots, the life model decoys that was made, famous. I feel like Steranko came up with those. So there's a little bit of Steranko in here, but down goes Dum Dum Dugan just to find out he's a life model decoy. That was a lot of stuff going on. The Black Widow, a lot of energy there with Wolverine. I'm still a fan of his brown gear. I've never really liked the yellow. It made no sense to be a creature named Wolverine who, should be able to camouflage in the woods since he's, got that berserker mode and stuff. And yellow would make you kind of hard to stand out. Yeah, good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Let's put that to the side. That's going to get its own bag. What was on the back of that one? Yeah, we got number 8. So as you can see, this is how I know the year. I used to, and still do sometimes, double bag my comics. You should always have the shiny side, the smooth side, right against your comic. That's less friction when you slide that book in, or put the comic on top of that comic board if you put it in the bag. But who knows? But anyway, Lost Armor. Absolutely love the Armor Wars, and the Bob Layton is the only man, in my opinion, who should be touching Iron Man. What we got here? Oh, here we go. We got Heller. Let me see. Okay, Prime One Collector. I will say this about Chuck Austin. His Juggernaut angle was interesting. Yeah, it's kind of like Chuck Austin ended up writing X-Men. He did some weird stuff with Nightcrawler. This is off the top of my head. I've kind of pushed this stuff out of my head. By the time he was, I did not. I have a complete set of almost a complete set of Exiles, Volume One, that Judd Winnick started with Mike McCone, which I was going to bring up in this, saying that sort of became a what if title itself, if you will. Sliders, a bunch of heroes from different timelines come together to bounce around different storylines to fix things, if you will. But anyway, I skipped his Exiles. He came in and did a few fill-in issues twice, I think. I skipped those. His Superman stuff was just, I was like, what? That and he was, I don't know. Anyways, this isn't a Chuck Austin hate thing. You know, he's had longevity in his career, so I wish him the best. Charlton 66. Hey Tim and all the cool folks here. All right, we got we got Charlton 66 guys. Make sure you say hello. What if number three? What if number three is my favorite comic book ever? What if the Avengers had never been? Great shooter story and gorgeous art from Kane. It has everything. That's probably the volume one. And I do recall that. I have some volume one books I may have to get out to look at. But yeah, Jim Shooter written story. Absolutely. The Wolverine cover there has his has the bolster on the wrong side. Oh no, the holster is on the wrong side. Oh no. Yep. Oh no, it's backward. Oh geez. Yep. Just when I brag a little bit about Liefeld, he takes me down with him. And Charlton 66, I need a life model decoy. Wouldn't that be great? Okay. So moving just along here, having some fun, guys. Kurt Busiek, before Kurt Busiek was huge, did a few of these, and I seem to recall. I think he's the one that did the X-Men stories, right? I don't know. I'll open this one up, right? But the X-Men. This is right. I don't even have to look this up. This is right out at the bat of Giant Size X-Men #1. This is where this diverges. We have what if the X-Men died on their first mission? So let's take a look at that. What if they had died on the first mission? I feel like this is a Busiek. Nope, excuse me. Roy Thomas, Rich Buckler, Sam De La Rosa, right? So this is one I would get. Okay. This is one I would get because Roy Thomas is writing it, man. He will load you up. This thing, yeah, this is what I'm ready to tell you. You're going to get all the letterer should have been paid double for any letterer that worked with Roy Thomas. So you're going to be loaded uh, within this issue with exposition and dialogue and a thorough telling of the continuity and exactly where it went. And then the story is going to go on. Um, this is the stuff I grew up on, guys. You know, when you got your comic, you sit down to read. All right. So this is just a retelling of Giant Size X-Men where they don't survive their story, but of course, it's going to have a little twist. We're going to skip ahead to number 12. Jim Valentino. What if X-Men had stayed in Asgard, right? And no, you're not wrong. That is an appearance of Thor when he was turned into a frog. Okay, when he was cursed, was it Loki that turned him into a frog? Yeah, yeah. There's a couple of issues where Thor is a frog, and those issues are coveted. Walt Simonson pulled it off. Right, there was a whole in Central Park of New York. There was a whole all the animals could talk to each other, and they had a sense of royalty. Okay, they. Oh my goodness. Oh, so anyway, this was the story that got me hooked on the X-Men finally after being cantankerous and staying away from it. I had a handful of X-Men issues. One of my first, this came out in '85, the Asgardian Wars. I absolutely love it. Art Adams is the one that sucked me in. It was a New Mutant special. It was X-Men Annual #9 to X-Men, and then Paul Smith drew a prequel to it, X-Men Alpha Flight crossover, and that led into New Mutants special #1 and X-Men Annual #9. Luckily, I think I have two of those signed by Art Adams. I was able to meet him at Heroes Con. So anyway, this is the what if, right? So basically, the New Mutants were kidnapped. Loki, the Enchantress, everybody was involved. We see the adventures of the New Mutants in Asgard, and you start finding out that most of them fit in better, and they're finding their loves of their lives there, some of them, and they're finding their purpose in life from when they were on the edge of that angst, like some terrible things that happened to some of them, and they were all scattered throughout time. We think in the book they all showed up at the same time. Well, actually, one or two of them, not only did they go across space, some of them went across time. Some were on Asgard longer. And all of this was to take Storm, who had lost her powers, and make her like the new Thor, if you will. Give her, Stormbringer, I think is what her hammer was going to be. All she had to do was make a choice and trust the god of lies, if you will, right? And the X-Men, of course, make their way to Asgard to not only save Storm, but to save the New Mutants and all this stuff, right? And they didn't stay. One of the things about going home is that they all had to make a choice and leave their gifts or their lost loves and everything like that. And only one person got to keep something. I'll leave a little trivia there for you, a little guessing game, if you will. And this is the story of what if they had stayed there. Yeah. So we have some great exposition in this. Like, I mean, this is a thing. If you have a story you're a fan of, as I am with that's Guardian Wars, you're going to be there. And look at this, Jim Valentino with Sam De La Rosa. Man, he is doing his best Art Adams there. That is stunning. I mean, he's got the artwork matching that story. Now, well done, Jim Valentino. If you read those stories, he's done a fantastic job. There's still some Valentino in here, but he's done a great job of recreating that story from 1985. Well done. He's got the dragons. Yeah, this looks like it could just be, if they ever did a trade of it, this needs to be in there. This is fantastic. Oh, great. We have Cannonball leading an army, it looks like, at some point. Thor popping up. And this is in continuity. So this is when Walt Simonson was putting Thor through hell. He got turned into a frog. He had his face scarred up. That's why he grew out the beard. The Norn Queen is in here. Oh, my goodness. So much good stuff. Hela. Yeah. Okay. I'm getting off. I'm actually going to put this to the side. Who knew I was going to find something that has a potential to be a classic? Oh, man. Good stuff, man. All right. Number 10. What if the Punisher's family had not been killed? And yes, that is a Mike Zeck cover, right? What if the Punisher's family had not been killed? So what is this? Oh, original story. Apparently, this doesn't really diverge from anything other than probably his origin story and stuff, right? Let's see who did that one. Doug Murray. Doug Murray did this one. Yeah. They're not bad. The art's not bad. It's very Zach McLeod reminiscent. That's a good way to put it. The Christine Skill did I wonder if she did the coloring. Nope. Anyway, there we go. Enough of that. This is the Punisher. If his family had not been killed, who knows? That one doesn't stick out of my head. And then we move on here to number 11. What if the Fantastic Four had all the same powers? And this is 4 stories. There's a world where they all were invisible. They all became things. There we go. They all got the stretchy powers. They all, I feel like I should have all kinds of jokes for this. And they all became human torches, if you will, right? The Inferno Four there. I don't know. But I haven't seen a cover like that since DC Comics Presents, where Plastic Man, Elastic Lad, and oh man, the Elongated Man all met and got knotted up when they were meeting Superman. Seems like there's a 4th one. Yeah. So anyway, there we go on that one. Charlie Tim, I didn't realize how much of Thomas's work that I had read and collected over the years until I started purging a lot of my collection. I'm like that with Giffen. I mean, I'm sure I have tons of Thomas stuff. I'm not saying I don't have tons of other people's stuff, but when I knew I was going to be meeting Keith Giffen at a comic book shop at a Heroes Con comic book convention, I ended up making a mess. I had boxes and boxes out, going all the way back to a few issues of his Defenders in the 70s. His oh my God, Claw the Unconquered, Cobra, an issue of that from the 70s. You follow what I'm saying? And then just all that Justice League and all the Legion and Dr. Fate. I mean, I could not believe everything I had going into the 90s with Punks from Valiant and Trencher and Ambush Bug. Yeah, I totally get it. I'm keeping the stories. Fantastic. And here we go, guys. Number 13. What if Professor X and the X-Men had become the Juggernaut? Professor X becomes the Juggernaut. And look at that cover, guys. Okay. This is coming out of X-Men number 12, going back to the Silver Age, and that is a Jim Lee cover, guys, right? Jim Lee cover. Let's see who did that one real quick. I'll probably not geek out on you there. Oh my, it looks rough, man. Okay, Kurt Busiek. Kurt Busiek, and someone I never heard of doing the pencils and stuff. So, like I said, the Kurt Busiek stories. Some for reason in my head, I feel like he did a majority of the X-Men stories. I could be wrong. I'm going by memory, but yeah, we have Charles Xavier as the Juggernaut, and some interesting takes on the rest of the X-Men. So Kurt Busiek being a student of Marvel, one of those guys that probably would win trivia contests when it comes to comic books. If he's going to do a take like that, I'm down for it, right? And then we have a Ron Lynn cover here, number 14. Captain Marvel had not died. I do not know any of these people. These have got to be pen names. I mean, it looks pretty good, but what if Captain Marvel had not died? That's got to be divergent of Marvel graphic novel number 1. And this is actually visited in Quasar number 30 that I showed you, right? But yeah, I never heard of this team. I'm really thinking these are pen names for some reason. So it looks all right. It doesn't stand out in my memory. So I'm not even going to try to say those names. These have got those have, I'm really hoping those are pen names. And if these aren't, I apologize to the people because I do not know any more of their work. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you guys hear anything, feel free to comment if you end up trying to find those people. Okay, Ron Lim, man, he came out. We'll just set that to the side, and then here we go, guys. Maybe this is a first. Maybe this is a key. I don't know, man. But if I remember right, this diverges by memory. Okay, guys, by memory, there's a part in the Dark Phoenix saga where Wolverine ends up in the Watcher's abode. Right, they're on the blue area of the moon, and I think that's when Uatu, the Watcher, was like, "How dare you?" And there's a little panel that it's a throwback to the Jack Kirby debut of the Watcher, if you will, back in the Fantastic Four, and Wolverine is thrown through time a little bit. I feel like in my memory he ran across some dinosaurs or something, and that's how he ended up meeting Conan. That takes place there. I think he gets stuck in the Hyborian age for a little bit, right? I was super excited to get this, and if I'm going by my memory, I'd actually started kind of getting off the book, and on the rack there still was like an issue or two around this. And when I grabbed this one, I was like, might as well grab the other ones because it looks like it's getting good. So that is fantastic. And then number issue 23 popping up here. What if the X-Men, what if the all new, all different X-Men never existed? Thus why I sort of started getting off the title. The rest of these I've sort of picked up as the cover grabbed me or over time and stuff. Because now we had what if the all new different X-Men died? Now we have what if they never existed? You see what I'm saying? That's why I think it's very good that this series was probably better off if it had gaps in between volumes so that we could have some stories for it to pull from, if you will. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Busiek did this one. Yes, Kurt Busiek and Rodney Ramos. Rodney Ramos is one of those great storytellers that is very underrated. Yeah. So here we go. We get another exposition of Krakoa and the giant size X-Men and how they were all coming together with the new X-Men. And, looks like we get Eric the Red here. But like I said, we have Kurt Busiek who knows his Marvel history. So yeah, anytime he wants to diverge on something and he's going to pull out some characters to go along with it, it's going to be good. So the rest of these guys now, it's sort of, this is great that it has a John Romita Jr. cover. And I think it's a John, and I almost want to say John Romita, his dad may have inked this. I don't know, man, but we now have what if Craven the Hunter had survived? What if Craven the Hunter had killed Spider-Man and Spider-Man had survived? We have Daredevil and everybody running in back there and Captain America. Yeah, but this is from Craven's Last Hunt. I have 2 of those. The rest of them are going to go pretty quick, guys, except for maybe 1 or 2. The Fantastic Four battled Doctor Doom. What if the Fantastic Four, it's like Jeopardy, man. It's supposed to be in the form of a question when I speak. What if the Fantastic Four battled Doctor Doom before they got their powers? All right. Notice there's no iron mask on that one. There's no costume, you know. What if the Silver Surfer had not escaped Earth, right? So I'm assuming we're going to Silver Surfer, what is it, Volume 3, Number 1 from 1987. I never was really, I don't know, I was never really comfortable with how Steve Englehart came up for the Silver Surfer to escape Earth, despite the fact, 20 years or whatever after Galactus had trapped him there. That was one of the things about him, is that he was like an angel denied heaven. Um, a lot of people like to say that Galactus was a version of God, and that would make Silver Surfer maybe a version of Jesus, but he is a shiny angel that betrayed him, and that's more the story of Lucifer Morningstar. And then they turn around and we get thrown Mephisto with his story. I'm just saying. If we really want to look at some subtext there. But anyway, the way that Silver Surfer was able to escape Earth, for you guys who may not have realized he was trapped because so much time has gone by, he's been free of Earth longer than he was trapped in the comics in our time. You know what I'm saying? Was basically he was on a ship with the Fantastic Four and he left his surfboard behind. If he was on a surfboard, he wasn't able to pass through the invisible barrier that Galactus had. So when he gets on the other side, it's like he's in the ship. He's in the ship. And if he hits that barrier, he's going to stop and the ship will keep going on. And I can't remember if they said there was anything that was going to keep Silver Surfer from just ripping through that ship, killing everybody. You know what I mean? There weren't even spacesuits. I'm sure Invisible Woman would have made a bubble. I don't know. But anyway, so once he was on the other side, he just snapped his fingers, transformed his board into energy, and had it come with him, and he's flying through space again. So, yeah, I may end up rereading this one. Now, Marvel Fanfare, guys, if I got in this box, Marvel Fanfare had the original number 1 of that Silver Surfer, drawn by John Buscema, written by Steve Englehart, to start that series. And Silver Surfer was still trapped on Earth, and Manta was going to be a main character with him on Earth from the get-go. That's a Marvel Fanfare has some good stuff, guys. What do we got here? Charlton 66. I liked when What If was about the turning point or a part of the history of a character. It just turned into What If without a direction or dramatic event. I hope I'm explaining this well. No, we're saying the same thing. That's why I'm saying that there needs to be events in comics that go on, new ones, okay? And then bring out the what if when you have more source material to come from with what you're talking about. I totally understand what you're getting. I think you described that perfect. About the turning point or a part of the history of the character. Yeah, character driven. Yeah, oh God, what is that called? An event. When you're writing a book, all right, you do your exposition, and then you've got to have a catalyst that ends up giving energy to the book that, I'm trying to think like, anything that happens in a book. I'm trying to think of all the movies we have. Okay. We have Star Wars, where the catalyst of that is when he meets Ben Kenobi. You know what I mean? Like, and then his parents die. Those are the catalysts that set the story going. Anyway. And number 32, here we are. We're getting derivative. You know what I'm saying? What if the Phoenix had not died? Right? I'm going to see if this is a Kurt Busiek, right? We have another story of what if Phoenix had not died. Chris Claremont and George Caragone plot. So Chris Claremont had a little hand in number 32 here of what if Phoenix had not died. What do you know? Number 24, what if Wolverine was Lord of the Vampires? I'm suspecting yep, Uncanny X-Men 159, right? They had Dracula pop up. I think Sienkiewicz drew issue 159. If he didn't do that, he definitely did the annual. That was sort of a sequel to the story where the actual Marv Wolfman, Gene Colan, and Tom Palmer Dracula popped up and he wanted Storm. Okay. And then we have What If The Avengers battled the Guardians of the Galaxy. I feel like that might have came out of the Korvac saga. Let me look. I'm probably wrong. A sequel to What If number 19, the Utopia story. So this is a sequel to a What If story that came earlier. We'll see if it's in here. What if Storm the X-Men had remained a thief? Right. This came out. That to me, that gives me shadows of X-Men 201. I don't know if that's right or wrong. What if Galactus? What if the Avengers had been the one to fight Galactus? We're at number 41 now. All right. There we go. Number 43, you had to be deep into Wolverine. What if Wolverine had married Mariko? Number 42. Now we're just going to fly through them, guys. What if Spider-Man had kept his 6 arms? What is that? Amazing Spider-Man 100. And then they had a little fun here with issue 34. What if no one was watching The Watcher? It's an all humor magazine, right? Again, guys, I'm not saying that we didn't have our humor with Jim Shooter, but this is what I'm saying. It's just fast and loose and whatever they wanted to do turned into a bit of a goofball thing. Yeah, I mean, look at this. This is the quality we had even with the humor issue. My last live stream, I went over the what the issues, and I didn't even show the best one, number 5, that had Jim Lee, Will Spertatio, Eric Larson doing some stuff like in whatever it was, 1987. We're jumping up ahead to number 81. This is how when I noticed that there was no Watcher there, but what if the Age of Apocalypse had not ended? And they ended up actually doing this. Can a world shattered by apocalypse survive the coming of Galactus? So we go back in time and we have a what if story that became an event of what if Xavier had died in the Silver Age. And then we have Apocalypse coming early, and then we have the Age of Apocalypse, and they had a whole event. And then over the years, they milked that, a little bit here and there. And then we get to issue 81 of whenever this came out, and they were like, since there's Age of Apocalypse, there's no Fantastic Four, but Galactus still came. So that's kind of cool. Number 39, what if the Watcher had saved the universe? Now, as you can see, that says Timequake 5 of 5. So they had a storyline going there for a little bit, little experimenting with the what if story. Number 53, 3 bone chilling tales of alternative realities, right? And it looks like they're tapping the Todd McFarlane first, 5 issues? And that's the Lizard. Yeah, that looks like it's McFarlane's first, I don't know, 4 or 5 issues of his Spider-Man book from 1990. That's the Gray Hulk versus a Green Hulk. I wonder if that's supposed to be Rick Jones. And we have a little, yeah, there we go. Oh my goodness. So anyway, we have that. I don't remember anything from that one. It would have been cool to have seen Blade on the vampire cover and not the Punisher. Yeah. And what's so funny about you bringing up Blade is that I actually ended up having a conversation about Blade, Johnny Quest, Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, Babylon AD, John Straczynski. Oh my God, I'm butchering that name. His comic books, Midnight Nation, Twilight Zone of the 80s, the 60s, and Blade came up. I had the most weird, random conversation with a guy that owns a store here in town that I had never met, and his store has been open for 46 years, all because behind the counter he had his computer on. This was around noon today, and he had Tubi or something. He had his streaming service up. We talked about Tubi also, but Star Trek: The Next Generation was coming on, and I said that's one of my relaxing shows. So I ended up talking about Blade today. So what if Fantastic Four had lost the Trial of Galactus? Going back to that classic John Byrne story. And then, guys, as you can see, there's a lot of Wolverine going on. What if Wolverine battled Weapon X? Going back to that Barry Windsor Smith stuff. And that's the only reason I bought 2 copies of this and double dipped. I absolutely love the Barry Windsor Smith story. And I do believe, what's very cool about this one, guys, Kurt Busiek wrote it. Ron Randall came in, and who colored this? Art Nichols. So if they're going to mess with a story, they colored it and attempted to homage the style that Barry Windsor Smith used on the Weapon X story for Marvel Comics Presents. So good for them. That's a little bit of effort. A little bit of effort goes a long way, guys. A lot of effort. So if you're a fan of those stories, this is a fun take. I actually have two trades back here. I wished I never got rid of my hardcover. I got rid of my hardcover about 10 years ago. I wished I never done it. But I had the original Marvel Comics Presents. I actually got to buy those at the grocery store in town as they were coming out. And I have two trades back here. One has some extra stuff in it. I wonder if they put this story in it. Yeah, I'll have to look. I'm trying to make a mental note, which is why I'm saying it out loud. Apparently, I have three of these. Good grief. Is that right? Yeah. Apparently, I liked it. 59. I got this because it was a Brian Hitch cover. It is beat all to shit. What if Wolverine led the Alpha Flight? I think this one's beat up, so I guarantee I got this probably out of a quarter box somewhere. There's no way, even in that shape, I'd have paid $1. But let me look here. I think it has Brian Hitch art. Yes, early Brian Hitch art for you guys. He's the Ultimates guy. He did the Ultimates and trying to think if there's anything else. He's really, his style really evolved from our Alan Davis inspired artwork. Let's just leave it at that. To where he got some really cool photorealistic kind of stuff going on there, right? This was a key for a while, and I laughed about this. What if Silver Surfer possessed the Infinity Gauntlet? That's number 49. I feel like I have two of these. I think I had a beat up copy. And then number 63, War Machine. What if War Machine had not destroyed the living laser? Now we're scraping the bottom of the barrel because if I'm right in seeing that style of art, this is when John Byrne was writing Iron Man and John Romita Jr. was drawing it. And I'm not saying that it's I just remember not being very impressed. You know what I mean? Like it didn't hook me. So I think we're beating, scraping the bottom of the barrel a little bit by this point. And what if I would rather have this series take a break, have Marvel put out some stories, and then kind of come back rejuvenated from that, different creators and stuff, right? So, guys, we have spent an hour together, and I'm so happy that all you guys jumped in here. And that's really all we have to show, man. This was fun. This was fun. I pulled a stack of comic books out. I wasn't very graceful going through them for a change, but it was great to have those memories come back and the little guessing game and find one or two things that I really want to go back and read, which I will probably do tonight. So, anyway, subscribe. Give it a thumbs up, guys. There's still 10 people in here. I see 6 thumbs up. Let's get it up, man. Come on. And then make sure you're subscribed, hit it, leave comments. In the future, I do read them. I usually kind of binge my comments at some point during the week and answer questions. And like I said, make sure you hit the bell because we are in the fall months. We had our first day of 29-degree weather last night. So that means that I'm going to have more time to be around the house in the next couple months to do more shows, hopefully. Right. All right, guys. Be excellent to each other. Read your comic books. Thanks for the thumbs up, guys. Jumping up there. Thank you so much, man. That makes me feel good. It does, right? If I could give a thumbs up to every one of you, I would, man. All right. Be excellent to each other. And thanks for everybody popping in. Great to see everybody, man. All right. Later.